Happy Tuesday, everybody. It is time for our can you believe it? Our sixth weekly virtual lunch in the Exhibit Marketers Cafe. So welcome. The cafe is open. And so I know it always takes a little bit for people to get on board. So I'm going to just kind of run through some of our links, suggested links and resources and things first. If you're watching us on the replay, thanks for catching us in the replay. That's why we do this, is so that it can be archived and you can have access to it later as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And so what I want to do is, if you are joining us already, go ahead and introduce yourself in the comments and tell us your name and where you're from. And I will be able, if you haven't joined us before, I'll be able to pop that up and put that on the screen here in a little bit and introduce you to everybody. But I want to just kind of go through and share some of our resources with you. First of all, our friend Hadley at EvCon Fitness is still doing her weekly yoga with friends. So yoga for people in the trade show industry. And so she does, I've got these special links for you. She does, Tuesdays, she does them at 7 a.m., which I'm not a morning person, so I haven't joined that one. Thursdays, she does them at noon, and that's all Central Time, by the way. And so I have sat in on the Thursday one. I did it a couple of weeks ago, and it was a workout, let me tell you. I always thought yoga was just relaxing and stretching, but no, you get your heart rate up. So that's a great resource if you want to work out with some other people in the industry. That's a fun way to do it. Hey, Tina from largeprinting.com is here today. Hi, Tina. Thanks for sitting in. I know you've been here before. We've had you. You're a cafe regular, a virtual lunch regular. So good to have you here. I know you guys have been crazy, crazy busy. For those who don't know, Large Printing is a company here in Kansas City, and they pivoted like in a week's time to producing the plexiglass or the plexi face shield. So we're so glad to have you here today, Tina. So thanks for taking time out and sitting in. So let's see, what else do we have? So if you're in the trade show business and you're looking, or you've got job openings, TSNN has a jobs board. So here's the link for that. And also in the replay, in the archive, I will actually have all of these links up as well. So, and then I should mention too, as we go through some of the links, in fact, I think most of the links from here on, my husband Alan sits in behind the scenes, and so he will be posting those in the comments, and we'll be able to put those up on screen so that you can get a chance at those. So you are very welcome, Tina. Glad to have you. All right. So as far as other links, we have some things I want to share. First of all, we got just some for fun stuff. So our topic today is actually on virtual events. And so we're going to talk about, how a lot of things in the trade show and meetings world is pivoting to virtual. But I wanted to share a couple of fun virtual events. First of all, Alan, I'll have you share the Airbnb they've launched some streaming experiences. So it looks like that all of them are paid. It didn't look like they had anything that was free, but I will let you go ahead and put that in. Oh, and Rama is here from Lev Promotions. Hi, Rama. You're another one of our virtual lunch regulars, so welcome back. It's good to see some familiar faces in here. So, and then Tina has another comment here. We're running our standard print services for businesses in parallel too, especially information signage. Yes, right. And I didn't mean to say that you weren't doing printing as well, but it is just very cool that you were able to make that change and start producing those face shields. So, all right. So here is the link for the Airbnb experiences. So they've got everything from like cooking classes to dance and just all different kinds of things. So, if that's something you're interested in, you can check that out. Also, they've got some virtual Vegas, for those of us that missed the exhibitor show last month and we're kind of needing our Vegas fix. Alan, I'll have you go ahead and put that in the comments as well. So there's a number of different things in Vegas that are streaming online. I know Cirque du Soleil has some things. The Neon Museum, which I have never been to, but I always thought that was really, really cool, and I would love to see. So I think they've got some virtual, or I know that they've got some virtual things. As far as I'm not sure if they're free or not. And then also the Mob Museum. So here's the link for that. It was an article in Travel Weekly. So again, it's kind of long. So it's in if you're watching us live, it's in the comments. You can click the link that Alan just posted, or otherwise, I will put it up in the replay links as well. Okay. And then this one is really fun. For those of you that have ever stayed at a DoubleTree Hotel and you've had some of those fabulous cookies, I was shocked last week to discover that Hilton actually shared the recipe online. So Alan's going to put that link up next. And if you, I thought this was like, kind of like KFC's secret recipe or something. They would never share it, but they actually posted it so that since, for those of us who are missing our DoubleTree cookies, we can make them at home now. So I thought that was just really cool. So it just goes to show how so many companies are doing things that they're just being very empathetic. They're being very open and transparent. And so I just thought this was cool. I have not actually tried making them yet, but I definitely downloaded and printed out the recipe so I can do that later. All right, so let's see. Oh, and then as those of you who are regulars who've been here before, you know that I am not necessarily a big fan of Zoom because I think there are other tools out there that are better and more, what do I want to say, user-friendly. So Alan's going to put up a link there. I found an article that is 16 different Zoom alternatives, some of which are free. So anyway, he's going to share that. Oh, Ramah says Disney's also sharing all sorts of recipes, crafts, and behind-the-scenes stuff. So yeah, Disney blog, that's a great place to go. Or probably if you Googled virtual Disney or Disney recipes, I'm sure any of those things would get you there. But yeah, so, again, there are so many cool things, especially if you have kids at home and you're trying to keep them entertained and, they've really kind of hit the wall at this point. You can find some fun new things for them to do. So here's the link to that article about some alternatives for Zoom if you've been zoomed out by this point. But anyway, we're going to talk about virtual tools and virtual events here coming up in just a minute. A couple other things that I do want to share as far as links and resources. There's a new website. And if you go to it, Alan, I'll have you put the Go Live together in there. It's a new website. It's literally been formed like in the last week or so. And it's a whole bunch. If you go to the website, it's a whole bunch of industry vendors that have partnered together to create this new website. And this one is really simple. It's just golivetogether.com. And it's a resource for the meetings and events industry. And so there are lots of different, like you can download some social media posts that they've put together, some infographics, things that you can share on your social media channels. There's also an advocacy area where they're working together. There's a press release template, so you can get the word out to your local media about the importance of the events industry. So anyway, it's just a really good support resource. So I definitely wanted to share that. And then also tagging on to last week's topic where we were talking about how shows are going to need to, and meetings are going to need to adapt. The physical events, that is, how they're going to need to adapt and change moving forward. So the Wynn Resorts in Vegas, if you've ever had a chance to stay there, that is definitely one of my top hotels I've ever stayed at. The customer service and just the whole experience was fabulous. But they have put together a whole 32-page plan of how they're going to reopen. So the first link that I'm going to share is an article all about what the Wynn is doing. And this is, again, kind of a long article, but it's on meetingstoday.com. So if you go there and you Google for it, you can find the Las Vegas reopen plan for the Wynn. But this is the article. And then there's also, but it's kind of hidden within the article. So I wanted to go ahead and share the link to they actually have the real PDF online that you can download. And it's very detailed. Like I said, it's like 32 pages. They cover front of house, back of house, what they're doing in the restaurants, the spa, things like, how they're handling elevators, which I know, Rama, that was one thing you brought up last week. So just all kinds of things. And I also heard this week that IAEE is working with other industry associations to put together, that's one thing I said last week was I felt like there needed to be some kind of a universal guideline. So there are some people out there that are actually working on the plans for what live events are going to need to be doing moving forward. So we can have some kind of a consistent plan. But anyway, so I don't see were you able to share that link for the PDF, Alan? Oh, there it is. It's just delayed. So there's the direct link to go download that reopening plan from the Wynn Resorts. So definitely a very good resource there. So I'm going to go back. I know we've had some other people join us, so I'm going to give you a chance to introduce yourself in the comments. And we're going to kind of shift gears at this point and start talking about virtual events, because that's what we're needing to do at this point. I mean, pretty much every show this spring has either had to postpone, cancel, or go virtual. So, there's a lot of different shows that are taking different approaches. And there are some who have already held their virtual events, actually. I also saw earlier this month, the Global Meetings Industry Day did a poll, and they had 62% of the people that answered said they believe that most events will become hybrid. Now, I have to say, I personally have never been a fan of the term hybrid. I mean, to me, it sounds like some kind of a mutant creature or something. but I like to think of it more as like multi-channel broadcasting. I mean, because you think about in the real world, I mean, in our day-to-day world, how many things have we virtually attended? If you're like me, you probably never have been to the Academy Awards or the American Music Awards, any of those big award shows. You've probably never been to the Super Bowl, although Alan and I would have loved to have been there this year when our Kansas City Chiefs won. But, so all of these kinds of things we've experienced virtually. Even now, some people, we had a friend who they had an iPad and they filmed their wedding and they broadcast their wedding for all their friends that couldn't be there. So, there's so many different ways to attend things virtually now. And I have said for a long time that people in the trade show and meetings world need to stop being afraid and threatened by virtual and realize that our world is virtual, that everybody, especially now, people are used to watching things. Even more people than usual are watching live streams. I mean, you're here today. You're joining us virtually, So it's time to stop being afraid of it and figure out how to use it. And so one of the things is that you've got to make sure that you start with the strategy first and not the tools. I think that's one problem that so many people are right now. They're too focused on the tools and they're trying to figure out, it's like, we've got access to this, or everybody says use this, let's do this. And then how can we make this work? And you've got to go the other way, and you've got to, there's no one size fits all solution. You've got to start with what you want to accomplish and then reverse engineer into how you need to do it. Rama has another comment for us. I think hybrid is probably the way to go. It will work for those of us who want to attend live and for those who aren't ready for that yet. Hybrid will also reduce the number of people who will attend because some won't care if they're there if they're not there live. Well, that is true. There may be some who opt to do the virtual instead, but I think especially for right now, we're going to end up with a lot of people once the events start opening back up again. There's going to be people who don't feel comfortable. There's going to be people who aren't allowed to travel. You know, their company may have put a block on any corporate travel for risk management issues, or for budget issues, you know, so there's a lot of reasons why somebody may not travel. I'm a solopreneur. I pay for everything out of my own pocket. I can't go to absolutely every event every year that I would love to go to. So, you know, there are times when it's a great alternative to be able to attend something virtually and to be able to still feel like you're a part of the event, or you're still getting information and benefit out of the event, even though you can't be there personally. Would I rather be there in person and actually meeting people and talking to people? Definitely. But that's where I said, I think that it's not an either or thing going forward. It's definitely going to be a blended thing, and maybe blended event is more a better term, or, you know, a multi-channel event where you've got the live and you've also got the virtual option. So I think there's going to be a lot of different ways that shows and conferences are going to figure it out as they go along. The other thing I want to point out is when you do go virtual, don't try to just copy your face-to-face event. You know, you can't just say, okay, we're going to take everything we were doing and we're going to just put it online, because it just doesn't work. And honestly, trade shows is one of the trickiest parts because, you know, for years, like more than a decade, there's been like the video game style trade shows. And of course, I've been getting a lot of emails from companies about this now. And it's just, I'm like, it's just not the same. I mean, all these little avatars walking around and stuff, it just, that doesn't do it for me. I mean, maybe you're different. Maybe you find it, but then I'm not a gaming person anyway. But, you know, maybe some people, especially like the Gen Zs or, you know, they may feel right at home in that kind of environment, but to me, it just seems a little weird. There's much better ways to incorporate the trade show elements. And I will just do a little teaser at this point of a project that I've been working on for several weeks, and I'm getting ready to debut in May. So it's coming up soon, but I'm putting together a virtual summit where I'm interviewing a number of different events and show organizers where they've either already pivoted. I mean, some of them have already held their events, or they're getting ready to do something virtual this summer to replace their conference. So watch for that. I wanted to try to have it all ready to put out the link to you today. I'm not quite there yet, but watch for that coming in the next week or so. But it definitely, if your organization or some of your clients are thinking about going virtually, it definitely will be a great way for you to kind of see behind the scenes of what shows are doing. One of which is one of the last shows that held before everything shut down, and they saw what was coming, and they were losing a lot of their live audience because people couldn't travel or whatever, or didn't feel comfortable. So they actually did a combination show, or a multi-channel show, as I would call it. And they filmed on the show floor. And so they had both. They had people there, and then they've also put it up as a virtual event as well. So that's one of the ones that you'll learn from coming up in the summit in May. So definitely I want to put that out there. But back on the subject of virtual trade shows, you know, some of the different things you can do, you can create kind of a virtual marketplace. I mean, you can have like kind of a matchmaking system. I know a lot of shows have started doing the matchmaking in recent years anyway, you know, at the event, but you can definitely incorporate some kind of a matchmaking program. You know, video demos with live Q&A with the exhibitors, you know, that's a way to do it. Booth tours, you know, so there's lots of different ways to have that virtual trade show and not have the little funky avatars wandering around in a virtual world. if we have any of those kind of companies that are sitting in today, please enlighten me if I'm missing something. But, like I said, that just to me doesn't seem like the most effective way to transition. But as far as virtual events, one of the main goals is to try to build community and create engagement. And I think that's where a lot of virtual events in the past have really been lacking, because they're not really creating that engagement, and they're not, and even shows that are held live in person, there's so much that could be done, because if you've got those virtual elements, if you've got the session recordings or videos from your show floor or whatever, you can take that and you could repurpose that all year long. Put that up in your social media channels, have it on your website, use it as a way to build excitement for next year. There's so many different things that you can be doing if you've got those virtual elements. Let's see, what else do I have on my list here? Oh, and so, I was talking a little bit earlier about, don't just try to take everything and plop it into a virtual event. Think about what are the elements that you most want to include, or, most need to make sure that are included in your virtual, and go ahead and add those in. Fine. And again, like I said, starting with the strategy, figuring out what you need, do you need some kind of a virtual show floor? Do you want some kind of networking opportunity? What are the things you want? Then figure out what the tools are that are going to deliver on what you want. So, there's a lot of different ways to go about this, and there's so many tools out there right now. I mean, like I said, I'm getting emails, and you may be too, of like every day I'm getting emails from different companies about what tools they offer, or, new things that they're creating or whatever. So there's no shortage of ways to do a virtual event once you know what you want. And I do want to actually just let you know that also I am available. I've put my services out there as a virtual event concierge and host. So, if it is something that you're thinking about and you'd like somebody to kind of maybe help you walk through that strategy and figure out a plan, I'm happy to work with you on that. So this is a link to my virtual event services. And so you can figure out a little bit more about, where you want to go from here. But I want to just remind you again that I've got that online summit coming up next month, all about virtual events. So watch for information on that. And I just want to put out there, any last comments, or, let me know what else would you like to see? We can keep these virtual lunches going on Tuesdays if that's something that you've been benefiting from and you really enjoy. Let me know what other topics. Today was actually a request last week from Fred. And I haven't seen him pop in today. I don't know if he's here, but he had suggested that we talk about virtual events. So, if there's a particular topic that you would like to see us cover as we move forward, we can keep these lunches going, until things start to pick up again. So just go ahead and share that in the comments. And I'm going to pop back over and just see if we've got any new comments that I've missed. I don't see anything. So hopefully that gave you some good tips as far as virtual events. I know we didn't dive real deep. I will be doing a session in my summit. I'll be talking more in depth about figuring out strategies and, how to put a summit or how to put a virtual event together, giving you some more tips. But in this format, we have a very short amount of time, so we couldn't go real deep, but hopefully it gave you some good ideas. Like I said, if you have any suggestions, whether you're watching live or if you're watching the replay, if you have some topics that you would like us to cover in virtual lunch coming up in the next few weeks, please let me know, because this is all about giving benefit to the industry. I want this to be a place where you feel like you've got, you've got that information, you've got those resources. So, all right. So I don't see any more comments for today. So I think we will go ahead and wrap up, and I will see you next Tuesday, same time, same place. Well, different link, but watch for that. But we will be right back here in the cafe for virtual lunch next Tuesday. And then, like I said, also watch for details coming really soon about that online summit with all the behind the scenes tips from a variety of people in the trade show and events world. So thanks for joining us, and we will see you next week for our virtual lunch. Bye.